things will get better. Or smile, and things won't get worse. But the fellow said he smiled and things didn't get better. Well, things got worse in the pig pen. The famine got worse, and it finally got to the point where he would eat what the pigs were eating because he had nothing to eat, and they wouldn't even let him do that. Wow. Day after day, dirtier and dirtier, Day after day, a feeling of hopelessness sets in as you get hungrier and hungrier. And the helplessness turns to despair. And the despair gives us a futureless darkness. And he is in agony. And the act closes on chapter 2. Kind of reminds me of the quartet on Hee Haw. Y'all remember that? Gloom, despair, and agony on me. Deep, dark depression, excessive misery. If it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Gloom, despair, and agony on me. Y'all are pretty good. Jeremiah and the book of Lamentations for the first 3.5 chapters is a sad book. I mean, it's not called a lament by mistake. It's just sadder. It's sadder. The more you read, the sadder it gets. And then there are the tears. And then there are more tears until finally we wind up with poor Jeremiah sitting on the riverbank and all he can do is cry. I want to read just a little excerpt. 2 verses. They kind of set the tone. The elders of the daughter of Zion sit on the ground. They are silent. They have thrown dust on their heads. They have girded themselves with sackcloth. The virgins of Jerusalem have bowed their heads to the ground. My eyes fell because of tears. My spirit is greatly troubled. My heart is poured out on the earth because of the destruction of the daughter of my people. When little ones and infants faint in the streets of the city. Alabama had a famous songwriter. His name was Hank Williams. Hank wrote a lot of sad songs, but he wrote some that weren't so sad. One time he was playing out in San Diego, and on the card with him was Minnie Pearl and some other folks. And after Hank had sang the first 2 songs, it became pretty evident he'd probably had a little too much to drink. And he said, I'm not going back out there. And so Minnie, of course, who was a Christian, and one of the other singers got Hank, and they put him in Minnie's car. And they began to drive around the streets of San Diego to try to talk him into going back on the stage. And they thought perhaps one of the ways they could do that would be to sing some of his songs. And so they began to sing some of Hank's songs. And he joined in, sitting in the back seat. And then they came to a song that Hank wrote, and they began to sing it. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. And right in the middle of this song, he stopped singing. And he reached up, and he touched Minnie on the back of her shoulder. She was driving. And he said, the trouble many, there is no light. I want to share some pictures with you that were on YouTube. Possibly you saw them. That happens to be a female English barn swallow diving close along an English lane. She was struck by a car. And now she's sitting on the pavement in pain and agony. She cannot fly. Next slide, please. This is her mate who's come to feed her. And he does. He brings her food or he brings her water, whatever her need is, to comfort her. Next slide, please. But when he comes back on a repetitive visit, he finds that she is not responsive. She's just laying there. And he doesn't know quite what to make of it. Next slide, please. So he tries to turn her over. He tries to nudge her and move her, but she is lifeless. She cannot move. She has died. And so eventually, he quits. Next slide, please. And he begins to cry. Thank you. I want to share a couple of concepts with you today. You may find new or you may not. The first one is aseity. It's a very old English word. We actually get it from the Latin, ase. We first run across this word in some very early theological writings, and I left a sermon outline up here. It would help me a lot if whoever borrowed it would bring it back. Gloom, despair, and agony on you. If you want to read more about that, you just need to go to Augustine's Confessions, and Augustine talks about it a great deal. It comes from a Latin word that means of self. And one of the earliest attempts to try to describe God, sort of the beginnings of the concept of theology. And what it really means is that God needs nothing. Whatever God needs, God already has. And whatever God already has, God already has all of it. So therefore, God needs nothing, including you and me, or anything we could bring to God. Bartering with God is a waste of time. You know, hey, God, I'll do this if you'll do that. I'll do this if you'll do that. Hey, God, I've been going to church now for 10 weeks in a row. You give me a little break here? No, God doesn't need you. He doesn't need you to do anything. God may like it when you do some things, but he doesn't need it. in existence before you came along, and he'll be in existence when you're gone. And so that concept sort of gives us the basis for the study of theology. And I want to use theology today in a way that maybe you're not really used to. We don't do it a lot in sermons, but I think it's important to do that. We are beginning a series of lessons that talk about, therefore, I have hope. And I want to talk about why that's true. You see, here Jeremiah is. He's just sad and sadder, and tears and more tears, and he's just crying. And the situation is really bad. And we get down into the 3rd chapter and the 21st verse, and Jeremiah makes an astonishing statement in the middle of all of his woes. He says, "This I recall to mind. I just remembered something," Jeremiah said. "A thought has come to me, and what I remember is something that gives me hope. This I call to mind," Jeremiah says, "therefore I have hope." Well, why do you have hope, Jeremiah? I have hope because the Lord's loving kindnesses never cease. His compassions never fail. They're new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I have hope in him. That's amazing. What are you saying? I'm saying that I was hopeless. It was helpless. The situation was desperate. Because I was thinking about all the tragedy of my people and all they had done and how there was nothing good going to happen. This is just going to get worse and worse and worse and worse. Until finally it cannot get any worse. Kind of like the boy in the pig pen. It finally gets so bad. Can't get any worse. You're at the bottom, and then you're at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. And it's interesting, you know, because the reason there's a turnaround in the story of the lost son is because while he's in that pig pen, I don't know how long it took him before one day he said, "Hey, I didn't start off in this pig pen. I remember my father's house." And that's what Jeremiah did. He had this recall. "This I recall to mind," he said, "and therefore I have hope." And the reason I have hope is because of God's love. Now, I want to talk about the theological basis for God's loving kindness. You can trust me in this. There is a great deal of biblical implication. In fact, if you go look this up in your concordance, it'll just scroll and scroll and scroll. If it's on the screen, if it's in a book, you'll have a couple of pages. Loving kindnesses of God. Fill the Bible. But I want to look at it from a theological. I want to give you 3 things theologically that imply loving kindness. The first one is infinity. You see, what grows out of aseity is infinity. The fact that God is of himself, that he needs absolutely nothing, that he has all that he needs, and that there's nothing outside of God that is not created, means there is nothing besides God that God hasn't manufactured or induced through creation or whatever process God does. And so God has that in an infinite sense. The nature of God, his essence, his pure essence is infinite. God is infinite. So whatever God has and God is that completely, not partially. Now, I've said this up here many times. I hope it didn't, just pass through us as something interesting to say. But I told you young people this once. I hope you wrote it down, When you get God, you get all of God. When God gives you something, you get that. You don't get some of that, a little of that, part of that. God doesn't give partial stuff. God doesn't have partial stuff. God has it all. So in that sense, whatever is of the nature of the essence of God is infinite. And that just means that that's all there is. There is no more or less. There's no more. Love is the essence of God. The book plainly says God is love. Now, if God is love, then he's infinite love. Do you see what I'm saying? If God is love, he's infinite love. And so, therefore, he cannot be more love than he is, and he cannot be other than. Now, listen, we're finite. So we have some love in us, but we also have anger and hate and wrath. And you never know what we are. We may love today and might love tomorrow. We may love a little or we may love a lot. We may not love any at all. We have to learn how to love. God doesn't have to learn how to love. He's love. He can't do anything but love. He has no choice. He's love. You cannot be what you're not. And he cannot love. Now, you understand that when you look at the theological concept of lies, right? God is truth. Because God is truth, it is what? Impossible for God to lie. Says anything impossible with God? Yes. He cannot be what he is not. And he's not a liar. Now, the devil, on the other hand, is not only a liar, but the beginner of liars. He has lies. He doesn't have truth. He can't tell the truth. Won't tell the truth. Doesn't like the truth. God tells the truth because he is infinite truth. Therefore, he is infinite love in the same sense. And you can't count on my love. And you can't count on anybody's love. Not really. Not when it gets down to the rubber meets the road. But you can count on God's love. If you have God's love, you didn't get it piecemeal, you didn't get it in part, and God cannot not love. You say, but you don't understand. You don't know how bad I've been. Doesn't matter how bad you've been. Because God has no choice in the fact that he is love. He cannot do otherwise. He loves you. But what if I turn my back on God and walk away? Still loves you. What if I spit at God and call him names? Still loves you. Does that mean that God may not discipline you? No. You're like my dad said when he pulled out the belt. I don't want to do this, but I love you. God cannot not love. He just cannot. He does. He has no choice. And so he so loved the world that he gave himself, because that's what he had to give. Secondly, I want you to understand that God's simplicity implies it. Now, love is the essence of God, and God is simple in his essence. Now, I mentioned that to a couple of people a week or two ago, and I got some funny looks. What do you mean God is simple? Well, it's the basis of theology, that God is a simple being. You say, that's not true. No, it is true. You see, I'm not talking about in the sense of what you might think of in dealing with the world and in parts and in people. I'm talking theologically, God is a spirit. So he has no parts. God is not parts. He doesn't have an arm that he can lose or a leg that he can lose or anything that can be added or taken away. If you have parts, you can subtract them. God has no parts because you can't subtract God. You can't take anything away from God. He just is. And so he's simple in that sense. He's simple in that he's indivisible. Whatever he is that thoroughly, completely. He can't be that partially. He can't be that in pieces. You can't divide him up. You can't make a pie graph of God. He's indivisible. Can't chop him up. You can't say this is God and this is God and this is God and this is God. Now you can do that with me. You can tear me into a million pieces and try to figure out all my parts, you know. But you can't do that with God. Because God's not complex. He's simple. So you don't have to worry. Now you got to worry about me. I might tell you a lie. I might mislead you. God's not going to tell you a lie. It's impossible for God to lie. And so God is love. And because God is love and indivisible and has no parts, whatever he is that thoroughly and completely, which means he is love. God is wholly and completely love. He isn't part love, partial love, some love, half love, loving today, not loving tomorrow. God does love. Now, man, we're not simple, we're complex. We're divisible in our thinking. In fact, we have a hard time getting it all together, don't we? Because we have so many ways we can go. Happy one minute, sad the next, mad, glad, in despair, on top of the mountain. We may love, we may hate, we may be somewhere in between. In fact, I know we can be in between because Jesus said, I wish you either were on fire or cold. I can't stand this lukewarmness. And that's one thing you'll never see God. God's never lukewarm. He is never lukewarm because the fact that God is simple means that whatever he is that 100%. God is 100% love. Now, the third point is God's necessity implies it. You see, one of the things you learn from aseity is that God is a necessary being. Well, a necessary being is a being that's necessary. And so, because God is a necessary being, you cannot have anything without God. So, therefore, God is necessary because anything there is God. He's necessary. And because he's a necessary being, he is whatever is necessary. And so because it is necessary for God to love, he cannot not love. I hope you're following this. But I'm doing my best to help you understand it. Now, mankind, we're not necessary beings. So we don't necessarily love. We have to be taught. You have to learn it. It's a process. It's no process for God. He didn't go a million years and say, oh, I finally learned to love. He didn't do that. That's who he is. He's love. You could call him Mr. Love. He's love. And so it's necessary for him to love. And because it's necessary for him to love, he cannot not love. Now, ladies and gentlemen, can I put this into a practical application, please? Whatever happens in your life involving God is a result of love. It has to be, because nothing can happen in your life that from God that isn't love. Do you understand what I'm saying? You can look at anything that's happened in your life. If it came from God, it came from love. You say, well, maybe I didn't see it that way. Well, you better see it that way because you can't be any other way. That's why Paul's able to say all things work together what? All things work together for good. How can they not work for good? God loves you. He can't do anything but love you. Therefore, it follows that love shall follow me all the days of my life, Love is God, and God cannot not love me. Since God cannot be anything but loving, you cannot receive anything from God but love. Never, ever question God's love. Never. Not for a second. Not for a minute. I don't care what the tragedy is. I don't know what disastrous news you just heard. Never question God's love. He cannot not love you. If he did, he would not be God. If he can lie, he's not God. God is life. If he could die, he wouldn't be God. Do you get it? You get it, don't you? If God is life, he can't die. I am the truth and the life. I will never lie to you, and I will never die. God is love, therefore, God cannot not love you. Whatever happens to you, if it comes from God, it comes out of love. Now, if that doesn't change your outlook on life, if that doesn't take away all that agony on me, if that doesn't do what it did for Jeremiah, therefore, I have hope. God loves you. You have hope. We're going to listen to a song. I'd like you to pay very close attention to the words. It's not a great song. It's just something I wrote, but it has a significant meaning because it's going to express, I hope to you, what I've been trying to say.
What did he do? What did he do? What did he do for me? What did he do? What did he do? What did he do
was love, don't you see? It was love, don't you see? It was love, don't you see, for me. There's no cross. There's no cross if God is not love. Walk out of this building today in his love. If you're despondent in spirit, if you feel a sense of helplessness or hopelessness, can we talk with you about that? We invite you to come and talk with us while we stand together and sing.
Wonderful story of love, tell it to me again.